Hi, welcome to the SQAIR presentation and introduction. My name is Jade. I created the SQAIR. Today I'm going to bring you through different units that we have. I'm going to bring you through the safety elements and how we suggest that you progress with your students in grades kindergarten through 12th grade. So let's get started. Positive physical education programs in physical activity and help your students develop knowledge, attitudes, motor skills, behavioral skills, and confidence needed to adapt and maintain physically active lifestyles. Our goal is to keep the love of movement alive throughout their career as students, so they will associate exercise with enjoyment and fun, and want to continue this habit as part of their lifestyle. This is the SQAIR. As you can see, we have two versions. We have a kids version that is full of color and exciting for the students to use, and we have the adult version, which we suggest for middle school up through high school, and you'll see these in sports conditioning places, rehabs, physical fitness clubs, you name it. You'll see this throughout the rest of your life and their lives as they grow. So you can see with the children's SQAIR, we have, or the youth SQAIR, we have handprints and footprints. We have a green middle circle, and we have corner elements that are colorful as well, with little circles in the middle. The word SQAIR is here, and we have words with our website, squairs.com, here. And there's a reason for each one of these elements of the design. So I'm going to put this down on the floor, and I'm going to step on the footprints. Stepping on the footprints puts me at base of support, 6 to 8 inches between each heel bone. So you can see that my feet are right underneath my hip bones. If I'm standing at shoulder distance, I'm standing on the edge of the SQAIR. So 15 inches between each shoulder, which is average distance for men, women, and adolescents. So you can't really outgrow the SQAIR, which is very cool. Now, to avoid a size discrepancy, we can take two SQAIRs, and that's what we suggest. Each child has two SQAIRs. We place them next to each other. That way, they can determine their own base of support. So let me pull these back here, and I can step in the middle of the blue inner circles. Okay? Or I can step on the wide footprints. I can stand anywhere on this SQAIR, but they know where their base of support is. So it needs to feel comfortable, but you know that they're safe because their foot positions are exactly where they need to be, based on the design of the SQAIR. So again, shoulder distance, hip distance. We also have corner elements. Put this down here. Corner elements, as you remember, have the red and yellow designs. So when I am working with a student, it's very easy for me to say, hit the red corners, boom, hit the yellow corners, boom, and they're learning a twisting pattern. Early elementary, they're already learning that twisting pattern. So that is proprioception that they're gaining right away. The other interesting thing about this is, if you noticed, this is a spongy sport foam that acts like a balance mat. The cool feature about that, or cool thing about that feature, is that when you step on it, you get a squishy feeling in your feet that automatically engages the proprioceptor muscles in your feet and makes them or demands them to respond. The great benefit of that is now you've got athletes that have been, or students that have been training on this platform for a while. When they go outside, their feet are that much stronger. The muscles that surround the feet are that much stronger because you've built them without them even knowing it. So it's an added benefit. If you stack two of these SQAIRs on top of each other, they don't move. They will not move. The SQAIR does not move when it's on a wooden platform, on a cement floor, on the track, on tile. So if you need to take your athletes out for a practice and it's raining out and everybody's looking for a gym, you can have a practice right in a hallway. You've got a safe platform to work on, and you've got the tile floors. Who needs a gym? You can have a complete workout in the hallway, any hallway. So, that being said, moving on to this wonderful aspect of this design is that when you place two of these on top of each other, they can replace the balance mat. So you've got balance skills and drills that you can apply with your students for fun, for crossing the midline, for visual, directional, you name it. Very challenging, and the kids love the challenge. Like I said, this has many designs and many ways of being used. But let me take it back a step further. The reason this idea came to my mind is that I was using an agility ladder that moves out of place, as you know. And being in the fitness industry, I would not even use the agility ladders in my boot camp classes or sports and speed and agility classes because they moved out of place. And in the fitness industry, that could be a liability issue. And I'm sure the same holds place in the schools. And let's face it, we need to be safe and fun. So now we have a piece of an agility ladder that doesn't move out of place. Again, right here, you step on it, and you can do the same agility movements right here. So instead of doing them in a long line, you can do them right here. Now with each child being in their own square area, you can teach them their own agility movements one by one. And when they get really good at it, you can line these squares up to form an agility ladder. But what's really cool about the square, now that I've introduced these different elements of it, is that you can have a three-dimensional agility ladder. That doesn't exist. You can have an agility ladder that goes any which way you choose. It no longer has to be a straight line. You can have an agility ladder that they can create, you can create. And based on the fact that the foot patterns tell you where to stand, you can now place the squares at different directions so that the children know how to move their feet. So if their traveling pathways are forward, the foot patterns are forward. If they are half turns, full turns, 180s, 360s, you name it. As they progress and get more and more familiar with the square, this becomes much more doable. You will find that after 3 weeks of working with the agility movements and then putting them in a line and doing agility ladder patterns, they are on fire. It's exciting to see them progress so quickly and really get the movements down. Now, this is the really fun part of the square that I haven't introduced to you guys yet, and that is the fact that when you turn it over, it glides. So now, if we're doing gliding work, we can do it with one square, we can do it with two squares, we can do it with our hands, we can do it with our feet, we can do it with our forearms, we can do it with our knees, we can do it safely, we can do it effectively, and most importantly, we can do it with a tremendous amount of fun and excitement. So, this introduces the ideas of ice skating, of creating boats, team boats, inchworms. You can push, just the simple choice of pushing the squares forward, and you know that takes a lot of coordination. And if the children are too tall for the squares, you can simply place these squares upside down to meet the specification of their height, and now they can push. So if you have a larger child, a taller child, a child that needs a little bit more time to develop the skill, then you can keep these up nice and high and push them forward from here. Very fun, very exciting stuff. So there you have the introduction of the square. You know that it does not move when it's on the black side is down and the color side is up. You know that it does move when the black square is showing. And you know that you can use the corner elements, the middle circle, the foot patterns, and the hand pattern. When I introduce the squares to the classroom, to the youngsters, to the youngest students, to anyone who is using the squares for the first time, I make sure I go over the fact that they can jump on the colorful square. Anytime they see a colorful square, they can jump on it and be safe. They can jump around it. They can work around it. They can jump on it as much as they want and have as much fun with the color side up, and they can jump like crazy. Hop, jump, skip, you name it. Jumping jacks, etc. But if the square is glide side down, if they see a black square, we don't jump on a black square. So I introduce it to them that way. I mention that it does not move no matter what I do, and I stand and I give them a little dance. And then I say that, you know what, when you turn it upside down, it becomes a magic carpet. And I literally just let it push to the edge of the floor, and it glides across the gym floor like butter. It is very smooth. So, do we jump on a black square? No. Do we jump on a colorful square? Yes. Do we ever jump on a black square? No. And we go over all the rules and we have a lot of fun with it. And then we feel that we can be safe and introduce them with the foot patterns and the hand patterns, the corners, and the whole square area that they're able to work in. So Unit 1, Mobility Stability. Bringing awareness of the safety of the square and the use of their bodies. So having said that, we generally have them start with agility ladder patterns. So they're hopping or jumping or skipping. And from there, we have them do gliding motions, whether it be ice skating, pushing, gliding in any which way you want. We have a whole curriculum that tells you soup to nuts on how to deliver that. But to give you an example, I'll show you what the gliding looks like. So the gliding part of this would be using traveling pathways. So I would introduce this as a traveling thoughtful thought process of how we are going to travel. So I would ask them what animal or insect would hop from one square to the next. And they would have to come up with whatever that is, a grasshopper, a bunny, any of those. And I say, okay, now we get to the end of that line, and we have squares under our feet, and we move like this. What can you think of that travels this way? And they come up with all kinds of ideas. Ice skates, roller skates, you name it. And then we get to the line, and we jump back. Or we turn around, and we do something else, such as pushing the squares. We can also have it be a boat. So we row our bodies forward using our arms. And something that's not really introduced in many schools too soon is engaging the core. And that we do with our balance, and that we do with inchworms. And these are really super fun. In the beginning, we call them caterpillars. And then as they progress and get stronger, we do inchworms where their hips are high. I'll show you the difference. Here's the caterpillar. Forward, knees come in. So they're distributing the body, the weight of their body back and forth to make that movement possible. And that's a learning process. Now, as they progress and they go into a higher unit, they can go into inchworms, which we'll discuss later. But it looks like this. So you can see that we can progress with these pretty nicely. These are great to jump on. They're great to learn right and left because of the color aspect. We have yellow left, red is right. So when we're doing the same thing with the corners, we can always go and check with them that they're in the right spot. When they are learning a movement, their butt goes over the yellow corner, and then they switch, and they have to check themselves. Their butt goes over the red corner, and they're all in alignment. Everything is all in alignment. How about push-ups? Now that we have the pretty side up, we have push-ups that allow us perfect placement of our hands, and we're going to use our eyes to look at the word SQAIR. So instead of kids doing all kinds of crazy, all kinds of off-kiltered push-ups, which we've all seen, they have direct line of execution when they are staring at the word SQAIR and they're going straight down toward it and right back up. Straight down toward it and right back up. Very cool. As they get older, we put two squares together because their body shape changes and their body position needs to open and expand with them. All of these things that they are learning in Unit 1 builds the foundations for the next unit, Unit 2, which is what we're going to go over right now. Unit 2, Movement Improvement. Now that they have learned and are familiar with the different ways that they can travel with the SQAIR, now we take it a step further. We go more directly into the idea of the footprints and the handprints. So now, as we mentioned, they did the corner-to-corner movement, and they stepped on the footprints, and they stepped on the handprints. They put their hands on the handprints. They used the corners. They used the middle inner circle. So when they are progressing, Movement Improvement, Unit 2, we can teach them different foot patterns. So in their own SQAIR, everybody's more focused, and you cannot even imagine how much more focused they are and attentive and disciplined based on the fact that they've got so many things to focus on. So here they are, and you can teach them. Take the foot that is closest to the SQAIR and put it on the furthest footprint. Take the other foot, put it on the same foot on the other footprint, and continue to walk. And believe me, this takes time. You might want to try it yourselves. You might be a little surprised at how challenging that can be. You'll see a lot of crossing over. They don't have the patience. And then that doesn't work. They actually have to really focus on what they're doing. Because if they don't get this part of it, they're not going to get this part. Because that quickly becomes the icky shuffle. So they start looking at it to make sure that they're doing it right. And they can go as fast as they want. And believe me, after weeks of this, they're very fast. We can do it around the SQAIR. So we're here. So it becomes more about the foot movement than it does about staring at your feet. Right? So we have hopscotch, one foot in the middle of the blue inner circle, straddle, alternating foot, middle of the blue inner circle, straddle. That in itself is something difficult to learn. So learning that is fun in itself, and of course it reminds them of playing hopscotch, which you obviously can set up later on as a different lesson plan. So again, this can be done around the SQAIR. When they get it, they can do it backwards, any which way you want. One in, one out. One in, one out. Then you do the hokey pokey, right? And then it's a shift, and a shift, and a shift, and a shift, and a shift. And they do it around the SQAIR, and they go back around. 2 in, 2 out. Or hopping. Right? You get the idea. Just running. Any time that they step on the SQAIR, their feet have to respond. Anytime. And their feet learn to bounce right back up. This sets them up for the foundation of load to explode in Unit 3. So, movement improvement now becomes going from your square to creating their own agility ladder, or square chain pattern, as we call it here in the SQAIR world. So that square pattern, again, can be a straight line. It can be diagonal. You can turn it any which way you want to create the agility ladder that you want, the square chain pattern that you want. Now, what's interesting is as the kids grow, you can keep these squares maybe not touching each other anymore. Maybe they're 3 inches apart. So that as they grow, you can extend and lengthen the chain. So you can allow your students now the freedom of creating their own obstacle course, because now they know the elements of stacking it, doing balance work, footwork patterns, corner-to-corner elements, leaping, hopping, jumping, going at different angles, and gliding. So those are the 4 that they have thus far. And now we can do different games, like we have fun ones called musical squares, red rover, turn 1 square over. Definitely some wonderful, fun games that really challenge the children to really think outside the box. Moving on to Unit 3. Unit 3 is load to explode. So now they've learned movement, and now we can have them use muscle. They've increased their aerobic endurance, and now we can start to build that element of anaerobic endurance, again, in the form of fun. So, as you know, we can put 2 squares right next to each other. They're bigger kids now, and they want to jump. They want to leap. So if we have them stand on 1 square and leap from here, they're not going to have that much power to come from. They need to really propel themselves forward. They're not going to leap just in place. They're going to leap from these 2 squares to those 2 squares to those 2 squares to those 2 squares. Get the idea? And they're going to know how to land safely and effectively. So let's go over that right here. Again, they are a little bigger, and when you need to get some big power, you need your legs a little further apart. So from here, our arms back here to help us propel, and we lift and we land. We lift and we land. Now, what does that mean to you? What does that mean to them? That means they're going to land in the exact same place they lifted from. And the fact is, they need to land safely. So they need to learn how to land safely. And if they're going to land and they're going to make a loud noise, then guess what? It's not going to work for them very well. We need them to land softly. So we don't want to hear them landing. Now, if we have 2 squares here and 2 squares there, we can have them it's a double focus. Not only do they know where they stand on these 2 squares, they have to land on the exact same place on the other 2 squares. And that takes focus. So you got to give them a little challenge with the game of focus. And we have some really fun challenges incorporated in our curriculum. So we start by having them leap using their own body weight. Plyometric is what we're starting to implement here. Load to explode. And now we can add different elements to this. So instead of just leaping and landing on, moving forward, we can actually have them leap and land on a 180. So now we've brought a whole new element into their lives where they can leap and land soft, and then again, leap, land soft in the same place, going back in different directions. Again, learning how to land softly and safely. And their feet respond to that wonderful sport foam like it's bouncing on a trampoline. It's really fun for them. So now we have load to explode that can also be implemented with upper body. So for an example, we have push-ups, which we did in the first part of our units 1 and 2. Push-ups were on 1 square. Now they're bigger. They can put their hands in the middle of the blue circles, or they can put them on the widest handprints out there. If you want, you can grab another square for them to be on their knees and learn to do the push-ups appropriately with their knees on a square, or they can go right into their toes. Now, what's really cool about this is that there are 2 circles right here on the square. These 2 circles right here are like eyeballs. To me, this looks like a mask or an owl looking at me. So when I see these 2 eyes and my hands are here or here, depending on the person and their size, I know I have to meet eyeball to eyeball. And that is my goal. This also helps the kids so that they're not going to tuck their head down like this to get more distance in their mind. So it's eyeball to eyeball that they have to meet. So you're teaching them good form right off the bat. Just for your own benefit, I wanted to introduce one really cool part of this square that will help maybe you incorporate this in a lesson plan if you choose to create your own. If your hand is in the middle of the blue circle and in the middle of the black square, and our eyeball is meeting the corner red eyeball, because I'm using my right hand to glide out, my body still has to go eyeball to eyeball. And the reason that's really important is so that they don't overstress their joints or have bad form doing a push-up. So the gliding push-up would look like this. So if we're doing load to explode, you know that means the introduction of plyometrics, which is a really fun thing when you think about it. We've already done the leaps where we land softly and we protect our ankles, our wrists as well. So we're going to do the same thing with a plyo push-up. And it's fun. It's just a challenge. And if your kids want to try it, why not? What's to stop them? So you learn that by pushing and landing into the squares. And maybe they just want to try one, just to get used to their core work. Very cool stuff. You can build upon the foundations that you learned in Unit 1, then in Unit 2, and now Unit 3. Power Hour is taking all of those aspects and really fine-tuning their skills. But I just wanted you to know that when we go into Unit 3, Load to Explode, the games become even more challenging, more fun. The kids are looking forward to making those obstacle courses because now they're leaping in leaps and bounds and creating their own obstacle courses that are out of this world. We have competitions going on in schools, and it's a really fun thing. So, putting those back together, think about all the challenges that you can create from Power. Like I said, we have those agility ladders that we did in Units 1 and 2, if you want to build upon them. In Unit 3, we have the Power. So you're moving your own body weight. So if I have a pattern where I am working with another child on an agility ladder, I'm mimicking what they're doing on the agility ladder, holding on their back, holding on their shoulders, and doing exactly what they're doing through that square chain pattern. Getting to the end, and now I have my partner with me, I can have a seat on one of the gliding squares, my feet on the other one. And there's a jump rope that I'm holding on, and my partner has the other end of the jump rope, is standing in the middle of the jump rope and pulling me across. So I am now a human sled, and they are the pushers. So if you can imagine that, there's somebody here, and the jump rope is wrapped around their waist, and they are taking off here, pulling their partner with them. Keep that in a straight line, because once you start moving side to side, then the squares move, and so do the children, and we want to keep it safe. So that's the only thing I'm going to tell you about that. But yes, we can stand behind them. We can push them at a certain spot, as long as they're not pushing too high or too low. Get right in their middle of their back and push them along this way. We can also grab their hands and pull them across, or with one arm, grabbing on the other arm and pulling them across. So there's plenty of ways of using their own body weight and having tons of fun, creating tag games or relay races, etc. Lots of stuff to build on the foundations that you learned in Units 1 and 2, and now applying to 3. Let's move on to Unit 4. Unit 4, Power Hour. This is where you have those kids in high school who are really fascinated with sports. This is where it's time to win big. And you know what? If they're not into sports, that's okay. It's really fun to create these different agility movements and challenges within their own SQAIR to accelerate their own progress and their own pace. So, that being said, we want to get more sport specific. Now we're going into using the older SQAIR, adult version of the SQAIR, and we want to get more sport specific. Hey, we honor here at the SQAIR Fitness System that you still have to incorporate sports in your curriculum. Very cool. Use these specific lesson plans that we have to do as a warm-up for those sports, because they're going to really integrate the skills that are needed for sports, and use them to apply their skill, their task, to your sport. So if you're doing volleyball that week, or for 6 weeks, if you're doing baseball or softball or tag football for those 6 weeks, we have specific sports drills that are indicated with our lesson plans for the SQAIRs. We also have speed and agility videos that will cater to all sports that are specific for coaches. So you might want to check that out on our website as well. Power Hour is putting all of the foundations, using all the foundations of fitness, and really exploding with huge energy. Really fun stuff. We can use it for cheerleading movements. You can use it for, like I said, baseball, softball, football, lacrosse, volleyball, tennis. Think about all of those sport-specific movements and how they can be applied with the SQAIR now that you know what it is capable of doing. Check out our website. We've always got ideas coming out, and we're always looking for new ones. If you want to share, please go ahead and share with us. Again, my name is Jade Ng, and I'm here to help you get SQAIRs in your school. I see it in every school in this nation. SQAIRs are not a luxury. They're a necessity. Email me at info@squairs.com or check out our Facebook page at SQAIRFS. Check out our website, www.squairs.com. And if you need any help getting SQAIRs into your schools, let me know. Give me a call. We have plenty of ideas for working with the PTA or fundraising. So I really hope to hear from you soon. Take care.